Right now, October is Financial Planning Month. Economic uncertainty causing stress in many Americans' wallets, and experts say this month is a good time to get a plan together if you need one.
Well, local financial professional Matt Eilers with Medalist Wealth Management now here in studio with us this morning. Thanks so much for joining us.
Yes, always great to be here.
Yeah, good to see you again. Let's talk about financial plans because if you don't have one, maybe October is the time to get up on that. When we're talking about a financial plan, what is that? What does that entail? What do we need to know about that?
Yeah, so I like to explain it like this. A financial plan is having a reason for why you own what you own inside of your investment portfolio and some strategic decisions that you're making inside of your financial life. And, you know, one of the things that I tell families that we visit with all the time here in West Michigan is just having an investment portfolio or just having stuff isn't a plan unless you know exactly what you're going to do with it. And really, the two main areas of financial planning are either in the accumulation or growth phase of your life, as you're in your working years, saving for retirement. And then as you transition into retirement, those are the distribution or really the retirement planning years. So depending on what phase you're in, you're gonna have some different priorities. But a plan is really how you're going to navigate those different phases, whether that's through saving, whether that's through debt reduction, whether that's through planning for the future, for your retirement. But it's having some strategy and it's having some discipline to make moves that are going to set you on the right path.
Okay, I'm hearing that, you know, some people might already have a plan in their mind, they just not have it down on paper, right? You know, like they might be thinking, oh, well, I do this for this reason. That essentially in and of itself is kind of a plan. So it's kind of like the who, what, and where of what you're doing financially.
Yeah, can you just talk about some of the main things that you think would be important for people to really keep in mind? Maybe they're thinking, hey, I want to reduce my debt, but of course there's more to it than that. What are some of the things that you would suggest to them to really focus on?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think it starts with setting goals. And you know, you may know kind of what you're doing, but we want to write these things down, and then we want to figure out a roadmap to get from point A to point B. So let's just talk about, you know, phase one, which is the accumulation phase. When you're in your working and your saving years, you can save more if you're not paying down debt. So a really good goal for families is usually to eliminate that debt. So this could be, you know, vehicle loans, student loans, you know, any other, you know, credit card debt. You know, having a goal to get out of that and having a strategy how to achieve that goal is a great financial planning tool, because if you think about it, if you're spending $300, $400, $500 a month on debt payments, and now all of a sudden those can go away and you can funnel that into saving for other financial goals. Maybe it's you want to buy, you know, something, or you want to hit a certain amount of money in your emergency fund. Now you have all these extra dollars to send in that direction. So that's a really good example. But I encourage people to make sure that we get out of debt in those accumulation years, but also have an eye for the future. And sometimes it's hard to think about that when you're in, you know, your 30s and you're working that, hey, I'm going to retire someday. But we should be thinking about it, because it's what we do today, it's the seeds that we plant that are going to fuel that retirement savings, so that one day when you stop working and no one's giving you a paycheck, you can create your own.
You get that income there. So, of course, you said step one is set that goal. I'm curious what an attainable goal for someone just starting out on this plan might be. Is there a rhyme or reason to it, or just something that you think that you can attain there? Or is it really just kind of like a hit or miss target based on what you're able to do?
Now, I've got a couple guidelines that I really believe in. So first and foremost, we talk about eliminating debt. If you can get to the point where you're eliminating all your debt except for your mortgage, then I believe your goal should be to save 15% of your income every year for retirement savings, which is, it's a big number. It doesn't mean you got to do it right away, but to, you know, if you're at 5 and then next year you can jump up to 7 or 8, and then you can kind of work up to that 15% savings goal, that's really going to put you on track for great retirement savings.
Yeah, I know there's a lot of people too that are still kind of in the renters market at this point. And of course the housing market is its own really struggle, I guess, is the best way to put it. But when we're talking about maybe somebody has student debt, car debt, all of those little debts, but they still want a mortgage, how is the best way to be able to balance those to maybe work towards getting that mortgage someday?
Yeah, absolutely. You have to have a debt reduction plan for all the other high interest debt that you have. So approaching a debt reduction through either the debt avalanche or the debt snowball, to put a strategy in place is going to be important. But now is the time to be looking at where these interest rates are going for mortgage rates to determine, can we handle both? And I think the reduction of debt is going to help you be able to bring on that mortgage.
But first, you got to have that plan. So after that plan, what are your kind of next steps after that?
Well, having the financial plan around the goals is important, but then we need to think about taxes.
Yeah.
And we need to have a tax plan, because if you don't have an eye on taxes, life can get expensive pretty quickly. And I'll go out there and say, like, I hate taxes. I don't want to pay a penny more than what I have to.
But we're all on that same page.
That's right, right? So there's a lot of different strategies out there to help make sure that we're taking advantage of that, but also in planning for the future. Because taxes could be one of the biggest expenses in retirement. So doing things now, like if you have the ability to create Roth accounts, like a Roth IRA, or contribute to a Roth 401k or a Roth 403b, this is going to really give you some incredible tax advantages down the road when you get into retirement, so that you're not overpaying Uncle Sam.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very interesting to be able to kind of hear how it would be to go about balancing all of this. I want to ask too about something that's on the screen right now, number 3, tracking your spending.
Yeah.
What is the best way that people can go about doing that?
Well, there's a lot of different tools out there right now that are going to help you aggregate and sort that out. A lot of different financial apps that are really helpful, but you could just do it the old-fashioned way. You can go and download kind of the record of the last 30 days from your electronic bank account, put it in a spreadsheet, and just start to look. And it can be really eye-opening when you just dig into the numbers. And it takes a little bit of sweat equity here. You might have to sit down at the kitchen table for an hour, but what you can learn is you might understand, oh my gosh, we're paying $250 a month in streaming services, and I haven't even watched these ones in the last 3 months.
I know I got a couple of those laying around right now.
Right, they're out there. There's a lot of these things that just they fly under the radar. So tracking your spending is a big activity to go about, because you can identify areas that you can easily cut. Oh, this is a waste of money, I'm not even using it. And now all of a sudden, if you have these found dollars, you can funnel them towards savings or debt reduction.
Yeah, okay, so then that fourth item that we had on that list was the retirement plan.
Yeah.
Getting to retirement, you want to have that maybe 401k or retirement plan built up in that case. So when we're building this, what should we be looking at? I know that a lot of employers do offer some 401k matches, some accounts there. That has got to be pretty important, along with some other things.
Incredibly important. So I say it like this: it doesn't matter if you're 25 years old or 45. If you've got a retirement plan at your disposal, you got to take advantage of it, especially if there's a match. And the minute that you start a career and you can save into this, you're saving for retirement, because this is a retirement planning vehicle. So if there's a match on the table, get that match. That is free money. We can't give up free money in this world. So at minimum, I say always do what you can to contribute at least up to the match. If they match 5%, make sure you're contributing 5%. And then talk to a financial professional about, how much more beyond that should you be looking to go, because we can do things where we can project numbers into the future to understand how much do you really need to be saving to hit your goals. And do you need to be using, the traditional 401k or the Roth 401k if that's available to you? Do you need to contribute to outside IRAs, all those different things? That's where a conversation with a professional can help you sort this out, so you can take advantage of everything that's at your disposal.
Okay, let's throw a little curveball at you. The biggest headline right now has been the federal government shutdown. It just happened yesterday. Of course, that October 1 deadline. Here's a live look, by the way, at Washington, D.C., where we're not expecting much movement in Washington until Friday. That's the earliest we could start to see something push through here. In your mind, in the financial world, what are sort of the biggest impacts when this federal government shutdown comes in? What are you thinking about?
The biggest thing that I've always observed is the stock market hates uncertainty. And when we have times of uncertainty, it can spike volatility, which could cause a little bit of movement that could make some people uncomfortable. So far, things have been pretty mild.
Yeah.
In fact, the markets have been decent this week. But the longer that we have, this shutdown occurring and the uncertainty looms, we could see some things that take place in the markets, just, dips or increased volatility. And I would just say, don't overreact to this, because we know that there's going to be an end in sight for a shutdown. There always has been. It's just a matter of time, and don't let the short-term I guess, anxiety of the markets deter your financial plan from a long-term basis.
Yeah, and just speaking of that, what should people be doing day to day? Should we be checking maybe in our investments in the stock market like that, or what is kind of your rule of thumb there?
It depends on where you're at in your financial journey. If you're retiring next month, you should be looking at things, and you should have a plan already, and we shouldn't be worried about what the markets are going to do today to affect our retirement plan. But if it's folks like us in our 30s and 40s, I wouldn't look at it every day, because there's really nothing that you should be doing on a short-term basis for a long-term asset like that.
Okay, all right. Well, Matt Eilers, always great to have you in studio to talk
Likewise.
about finances. Thank you so much for coming, and we'll look forward to our November segment coming up here at the beginning of the month.